Few films in Cary Grant's legendary career were as eccentric or as quietly subversive as Father Goose. Beneath its sunny island charm hid strange creative choices, behind-the-scenes accidents, and the oddest wartime comedy Hollywood ever financed. How did one of the screen's most elegant men end up a rum-swilling castaway surrounded by schoolgirls, secret codes, and a duck that stole entire scenes? Tonight we uncover the forgotten, the bizarre, and the downright unbelievable stories that turned Father Goose into one of cinema's strangest hits. Number 15. The title almost got them sued. It sounds innocent, Father Goose, a light-hearted rhyme fit for a family comedy. But behind that cheerful title lurked a legal nightmare that nearly grounded the film before cameras ever rolled. Universal Pictures discovered, just weeks before production, that Father Goose was already the title of a 1934 biography about silent-era comedy legend Max Sennett. The estate behind that book wasn't amused. They sent formal letters, warning of copyright conflict, and threatened legal action if the studio moved forward. Panic rippled through the marketing team. Alternate titles like The Reluctant Patriot and Island Watchdog were drafted, but Cary Grant reportedly hated every option, calling them about as funny as wet sand. He argued the rhyme was perfect. It disarmed audiences and hinted at irony. Lawyers scrambled to prove the new film's story had no connection to Sennett's biography. After tense negotiations, Universal finally secured limited clearance to keep the title. Ironically, the phrase that almost caused a lawsuit became a cornerstone of the film's identity, a whimsical contradiction for a wartime comedy about a man who wanted peace and a drink, not glory. Number 14. Cary Grant played his true self for once. Cary Grant spent decades playing perfect men, elegant, witty, effortlessly in control. But Father Goose broke the illusion. At 60, Grant grew tired of the slick charm that made him famous. When the script landed on his desk, he laughed out loud, not at the jokes, but at how much he recognized himself in the role of Walter Eklund, an aging, cynical loner, hiding behind sarcasm and whiskey. Grant told reporters later that Walter was closer to me than anyone realizes. He improvised lines, adjusted gestures, and encouraged the director to let him look disheveled on camera. For an actor obsessed with control, it was liberation. Gone were the tuxedos, polished hair, and flirtatious smiles. Here was a man unshaven, barefoot, annoyed by children and love alike, and Grant made him human. Critics at first didn't know what to think. Some called it self-sabotage. Others saw genius. Over time, it became clear that Father Goose wasn't Grant. Abandoning his image, it was him finally living inside it. The suave icon had revealed his truest role, a man who didn't want to be one anymore. Number 13. The spy code that was a nursery rhyme. What looked like a joke in Father Goose was actually military realism in disguise. In the film, Cary Grant's character is given the radio code name Mother Goose, even though the title calls him Father Goose. Most viewers laughed at the absurdity, until historians pointed out it wasn't random humor. During World War II, British intelligence often assigned mismatched or gender-reversed code names to confuse enemy interceptors. Writer Peter Stone, fascinated by real spy protocols, slipped that truth into the screenplay. The nursery rhyme motif deepened the irony. A man avoiding war becomes part of it through coded bedtime rhymes. Early drafts even used Aunt Goose. But Grant vetoed it, quipping that he refused to sound like a pantomime aunt on parade. The producers agreed, keeping Mother Goose for comic rhythm and historical flair. It's a detail that reveals how clever the film truly was, camouflaging genuine wartime espionage methods inside family-friendly comedy. The result: one of cinema's strangest double entendres. A reluctant hero broadcasting under a name fit for a children's book, while enemy forces were genuinely fooled by such radio games in real life. Number 12. The film recycled footage from another Grant hit. Audiences never noticed, but one of Father Goose's most thrilling scenes came straight from another Cary Grant movie. When a Japanese submarine fires a torpedo during the tense final act, the footage wasn't filmed for Father Goose at all. It was borrowed wholesale from Operation Petticoat, 1959. Both were Universal productions, and both featured Grant in a military comedy. To cut costs, The studio simply reused the miniature submarine shot, saving thousands on effects. Special effects technicians even color-corrected the water tint and sped up the reel slightly to disguise it. Yet attentive fans later spotted identical waves and smoke patterns. Grant reportedly found the reuse hilarious, joking, "I've been torpedoed by myself." The recycling went unnoticed by critics and most audiences, proving how resourceful the old studio system could be. Instead of expensive new sequences, Universal relied on clever editing and Grant's charisma to sell authenticity. Decades later, restoration experts confirmed the reuse, and what looked like cinematic laziness now feels like part of the movie's charm. Father Goose literally recycled its own past, and no one realized they were watching déjà vu in Technicolor. Number 11. Jamaica was the Pacific. The South Pacific setting of Father Goose is pure movie magic. Every palm-fringed horizon, every crashing wave, every stretch of golden sand, none of it came from the Pacific. The film was shot entirely in Jamaica, mostly along the Ocho Rios coastline. Director Ralph Nelson chose the island for its untouched beaches and crystal light, which gave the illusion of a remote wartime outpost. But paradise came with a price. Daily, thunderstorms delayed shooting, and equipment rusted in the humid air. Crew members fought off mosquitoes so large, Grant nicknamed them enemy aircraft. Locals helped rebuild the coconut hut sets after each squall, and Grant reportedly shared his personal umbrella collection with makeup artists to keep morale up. Despite the hardships, Jamaica's natural radiance gave cinematographer Charles Lang visuals that no studio tank could replicate. Those turquoise shallows and sunburnt skies became the film's signature look. When audiences first saw Father Goose, they believed it had been filmed on an actual wartime island, proof that old Hollywood's location tricks could outshine any CGI decades before the term existed. Number 10. A dinghy disaster became a publicity photo. One of Father Goose's most cheerful promotional stills came from a genuine near disaster. During a tank shoot, simulating rough seas, Cary Grant, Leslie Caron, and several child actors boarded a small wooden dinghy. Massive wave machines churned the tank, and suddenly, the boat began taking on water. Crew members shouted, but Grant, ever calm, cracked a joke. "Smile, kids, it'll sell the picture," and urged everyone to stay put until safety divers intervened. A studio photographer, thinking it was part of the scene, captured the moment Grant grinned through splashing waves with terrified yet laughing children around him. The photo was later published worldwide as Grant's carefree island adventure. In reality, the prop boat was moments from sinking. Grant's composure turned what could have been chaos into myth. Even Universal's marketing team loved the image's unintentional symbolism, a stubborn man weathering any storm. To this day, that sunlit, waterlogged snapshot remains one of Father Goose's most iconic images, a frozen moment where professional instinct and pure Hollywood luck collided perfectly on camera. Number 9. Twin actresses hid in plain sight. In a film full of mischievous kids, two stood out for a reason the audience never knew they were identical twins playing one role. Laurel and Nicole Felset portrayed the French schoolgirls Angelique and Dominique, but their casting notes reveal a secret arrangement. Because of strict labor laws limiting childwork hours, the twins alternated scenes, sometimes even sharing the same costume. Crew members admitted it was nearly impossible to tell which sister appeared in which shot. The twins took advantage of the confusion, occasionally swapping lines as a prank, until Leslie Caron caught them mid-scene and burst into laughter. The director decided to keep the chaos. It added authenticity to the film's tone. Publicity photos later mislabeled them as two separate characters, and the truth didn't emerge until years later when collectors compared production call sheets. The Felset sisters soon left Hollywood, but their invisible teamwork remains a fascinating trivia gem. Father Goose unwittingly featured one of cinema's earliest examples of twin tag-team acting, hidden beneath the tropical sun and Cary Grant's exasperated grin. Number 8. Grant's favorite role, not the studio's. Cary Grant fell in love with Father Goose. The studio, not so much. Executives at Universal worried the film would tarnish Grant's gentlemanly image. They saw the script as risky, too sloppy, too unromantic, too offbeat for the world's most debonair man. Grant disagreed. He fought to keep the rough edges intact, even adding touches of sarcasm and clumsiness to make Walter Eklund feel real. For Grant, it was a midlife liberation. After decades of perfection, he wanted imperfection. He told director Ralph Nelson, "Let's show what happens when charm gets sunburned." Audiences responded enthusiastically, turning the movie into a box office sleeper hit. The film's success earned it an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay and secured Grant a Golden Globe nomination. Behind the scenes, studio executives eventually admitted defeat. Grant had proven that audiences didn't need polish, they needed honesty. He called it his favorite picture because it was closest to how I actually am. The irony is delicious. The man who built Hollywood's ideal of sophistication found his greatest triumph by finally playing messy, funny, and free. Number 7. The boat's name was a hidden joke. The battered sailboat in Father Goose carries an odd, hard-to-pronounce name, Vrolijkheid. Most moviegoers never noticed, but it's a Dutch word meaning merriment or joy. The choice wasn't random producer Stanley Shapiro, whose grandparents were Dutch immigrants, slipped it into the design as a private joke. The humor was that Grant's character, Walter Eklund, is anything but merry. Every time the boat's name flashes on screen, it quietly mocks his grumpy demeanor. Grant reportedly practiced saying it between takes and finally gave up, muttering, "No drunk Englishman could ever say that at sea." Crew members adopted the name as slang for chaos whenever a prop failed. Someone shouted, "Vrolijkheid," like a curse. Even today, sharp-eyed fans debate whether the inscription appears in one or two shots. It's a blink-and-miss Easter egg that perfectly encapsulates the film's tone. A gruff man, surrounded by laughter he doesn't yet understand. In a story about reluctant joy, the boat literally carried the punchline across every wave. Number 6. A historical error slipped past. Everyone, even war buffs, miss the film's biggest mistake. In Father Goose, a radio broadcast announces that Singapore fell to Japanese forces this morning. It's a dramatic line meant to raise tension, but historically, Singapore actually fell that afternoon, on February 15, 1942. The error came from a last-minute script revision to tighten pacing. Consultants pointed it out, but screenwriter Peter Stone shrugged, saying, "Afternoon doesn't sound urgent." The minor inaccuracy ironically enhanced the film's energy, giving audiences a sense of immediate peril. Still, the oversight amused historians who later noted the time gap in reviews. For Grant, accuracy mattered less than rhythm. "We weren't making a newsreel," he joked in a 1965 interview. "We were making entertainment." It's a reminder of how old Hollywood shaped truth for storytelling. They didn't rewrite history maliciously, they bent it for emotion. In a movie about reluctant heroism, even time itself was tweaked to move the story faster. The morning may have been wrong, but the moment felt right, and audiences never noticed. Number 5. A costume designer's big break. Ray Agayan, a name that would later shine across television and musical stages, quietly began his feature film journey on Father Goose. Agayan's challenge was deceptively simple. Make an island castaway story visually interesting when everyone wears the same two outfits. He transformed limitation into storytelling. Leslie Caron's prim wardrobe stiff collars, formal hats, gradually loosened scene by scene as her character surrendered to the island's rhythm. Cary Grant's tattered shirts were distressed by hand daily, washed in seawater to achieve that perfect, lived-in texture. Agayan's eye for emotional costuming didn't go unnoticed. Critics later praised the film's sun-worn realism, calling it a rare case where costumes evolved with character growth. Behind the camera, he bonded with Grant, who offered career advice that stuck. Let the clothes tell the story before the actor opens his mouth. Agayan went on to design for the Academy Awards, Funny Lady, and Lost Horizon, earning Emmy and Oscar nominations. But his confidence began here on a beach, under relentless Jamaican sun, crafting authenticity from salt and sweat. In a film known for humor and chaos, Agayan's subtle visual storytelling laid the groundwork for a new generation of cinematic costume realism. Number 4. The crew faced a real tragedy. Behind the breezy tone of Father Goose lies a story Hollywood never told. During the Jamaican shoot, tragedy struck the second unit while filming water scenes off Ocho Rios. A camera technician was operating a custom-built rig designed to capture waves hitting the boat from below the surface. A sudden swell overturned the support raft, throwing crew and equipment into rough water. Though most were rescued, the technician drowned before divers could reach him. Universal suspended production for 48 hours, and the local crew held a small, seaside vigil. Cary Grant, shaken, reportedly donated quietly to the man's family, but the studio ordered all reports sealed to avoid press attention that could damage the film's family adventure image. Years later, in an interview, Grant referenced the incident without naming the film, saying, "Even when we're playing war for laughs, the sea never jokes." That line now circulates among Grant historians as his unspoken tribute. The tragedy didn't make headlines, yet it forever changed the set's mood. Behind the laughter and lighthearted banter, everyone involved carried the knowledge that the ocean scenes they finished days later were completed in memory of one of their own. Number 3. The song that escaped the movie. Father Goose gave birth to a hit song that refused to stay put. Composer Cy Coleman and lyricist Carolyn Lee wrote Pass Me By as a breezy tune to close the film. Its lyrics, "Let me go on loving and living," and "Let me be," echoed Walter Eklund's carefree attitude. Yet only fragments played during the credits, buried beneath dialogue. Coleman was disappointed, believing it deserved a full spotlight. Then something strange happened. The melody took flight outside the theater. Jazz singer Peggy Lee recorded it months later, transforming it into a sultry standard. Frank Sinatra followed, and the Supremes performed it live on television. Even college marching bands adopted its carefree rhythm. A song written as an afterthought became a cultural anthem for mid-60s optimism. Coleman later joked, "That island comedy paid for my piano." He wasn't exaggerating. The royalties eclipsed his entire fee from Universal. For Leslie Caron, hearing the tune on radio years later was surreal. "It was like Walter and Catherine were still dancing somewhere," she said. The song that slipped through the cracks of the final cut ended up carrying Father Goose's spirit long after audiences forgot where it came from. Number 2. Grant's last laugh before retirement. For Cary Grant, Father Goose was more than another paycheck. It was a farewell rehearsal. By 1964, Grant had spent 3 decades perfecting charm. He'd been the gentleman spy, the millionaire rogue, the romantic idol. But Father Goose allowed him to play a version of himself stripped of polish. Walter Eklund was older, crankier, softer around the edges, a man ready to leave the stage. Audiences didn't realize it, but Grant did. After filming wrapped, he told friends he finally felt done pretending. 2 years later, he made Walk, Don't Run, and quietly retired from acting. No farewell press conference, no grand announcement, just silence and contentment. "Father Goose," he once said, "was me saying goodbye, only with a laugh instead of a bow." The decision shocked Hollywood. Studios begged him back, dangling scripts and fortunes. He refused, choosing fatherhood and philanthropy over fame. Ironically, his portrayal of a reluctant hero who accidentally becomes responsible for others mirrored his own life transition from star to family man. Looking back, it's poetic. The movie that showed him embracing imperfection was the one that freed him from chasing perfection forever. Number 1. It outsold the glamour films. No one saw it coming. In an era dominated by epics like My Fair Lady and Mary Poppins, Father Goose, a small dialogue-heavy comedy about a drunk on an island, became a surprise box office titan. Released quietly in late 1964, it climbed to the number 7 spot for the year, outperforming lavish productions with 10 times its budget. Critics expected it to vanish after Christmas. Instead, it lingered for months in theaters, drawing families, veterans, and even college crowds intrigued by its offbeat humor. Analysts later called it comfort cinema before the term existed. The public had grown weary of perfection. Grant's scruff, the chaotic kids, and Leslie Caron's no-nonsense wit felt refreshingly human. The film's Oscar win for Best Original Screenplay sealed its legacy. Even Grant's peers took notice. Audrey Hepburn reportedly sent him a telegram reading, "Congratulations, you've proven messy sells." It was true. Amid the grand Technicolor musicals and sweeping dramas, Father Goose soared precisely because it didn't try to be perfect. It celebrated flaws laughter, and resilience. That's why, decades later, it remains one of the strangest and most endearing anomalies of classic Hollywood, a scruffy, sunburned masterpiece hiding in plain sight. From legal battles over a title to submarines borrowed from another movie, Father Goose proves that even the gentlest comedies can have wild histories beneath their calm waves. It was the film that let Cary Grant drop his mask, reveal his humor, and quietly step into legend. Which of these facts surprised you most, the hidden tragedy, the recycled footage, or the real man behind the myth? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic secrets that change how you see Hollywood forever.